All right, hello, and welcome to my presentation on building a movie database using ASP.NET Core and the model view controller setup that the Visual Studio um, kind of builds for you and then allows you to work with inside of C Sharp and to build out this kind of like web database. So I guess we'll start with showing some of the functionality, and then we'll get into where the code is at. So when you first build uh, using the MVC functionality in the ASP.NET Core, it creates this kind of like generic website. So what I had to do for some of this stuff is go in and edit the CSHTML, which is over here, which shows and it's basically the auto-generated code that the entity framework generates for you. So like you can go in here and edit the varying different code and like down here. This was all part of it to create it. So it'll generate these different forms like create, delete, details, edit, index. And so then you have to go in and then change all of these towards what you want. So for example, like this is the search string code. A lot of this code I had to obviously look up and find because CSHTML isn't something that I was necessarily working in, and it was actually kind of an additional thing that I had to learn to work inside of this, as well as I also had to learn some SQL Server, but I'll get more into that. So as you can see in here, you create these different classes and the control, the labels, and then give it like the different title, which ultimately ends up creating in here. So like where you can edit and you can add like the different, you can make edits to this or and save, or you can delete um, or go back and then like you can pull up the details and then let's see here and then create new and then you can enter. So and then I don't actually remember when this came out. Genre, science fiction. I'm just gonna enter and then now, as you can see right here, this was also something that I had to kind of that I had to code into it, and that was in the right here. So this right here is actually the model that was used to create the database itself. So as you can see, I had to create like the ID, the date time, uh, the genre, the price, and the rating, and then these were all done as public. They could be done as private, but in this case, I set them as public before I learned more about the private stuff. And basically here, what I've done is I've added like these different string lengths, 60 minimum, 3 that is required, and then that makes it that it has to be a string length of 60 with a minimum length of 3, or maximum of 60 with a minimum length of 3, and that it's required. So if I were to take this out, then I wouldn't have, this wouldn't be required. So, and this right here is for like the title, and then same thing here, like display name equals release date, um, data type, and then I use the different data type. And so all of this right in here, these different things are the expressions. These are basically like checks against the actual against this. So, for example, like so that's where you get the field price must be between 1 and 100. So in here on it, let's see where price is. This is decimal 18.2 data type currency. So this sets the whole thing down so that it's not like, so it says that that has to be at least greater than 1, and then less than, but it gives it a range so that it knows exactly what is acceptable here. And then we can just put that. So, and then create. And so then now it's created this right here. We put it in. This can be eliminated. This just happened to be a part of one of the tutorials that I was looking at, and I added it and then didn't remove it. So, and then you have your different functionality, delete, um, and so on and so forth. So this is basically using several functions, and most of them are in here. So this right here is just a basic error view model. Then this was obviously the movie. Now with this right here, this is your model for the class of movie. So every time, like when I go into like the C data, or the actual like the movie controller, which are the main functions here that it works with. Um, they this is the class that it pulls, that it calls. So this class, has like different varying functions like ID, release date, genre, price, and rating. Now these right here is very it has to match your movie. So like your actual SQL server. So over here, I had to come in and create. Actually, the app itself creates this, and it creates this creates like the framework itself, and then let's see here. Uh, where exactly? And this movies controller. So when I created this controller right here, see it goes out and it creates the actual database, and then uses this query to pull in. So let's see here, validate anti-forgery. So when it creates that, you end up going over here into the SQL server and then creating underneath your this it creates this context. Then you have to come down and create a table and then design this. So when you design that, it has to match your movie model. So if it doesn't match the model here, it'll actually kick back an error, and you won't be able to actually make any updates. So anytime that you update your movie, anytime you update the model, you have to then update this right here. At one point, I did make an update to it, and then I broke it because I didn't actually add the rating, this part right here. So, and then let's see, I should have that here. Where is it? Okay. So right here, this is the actual table that was built. So every time it creates like, so this is the actual database itself, the physical database, the actual data that's stored in there. So every time you create a new item, this is how it stores it. And then when you come in here, you have to go to like the designer. This is the designer. And so when you build out what your table is going to look like, you can use this design. It's pretty simple up here. You can also just type the code in down here. And then basically this right here has to match the has to match your movie, the model. So that way it does, so that way it's able to actually pull the information and then push it to the actual SQL server. And then, so I also created this right here, which was like for seeding the data. And basically what this is going to do is it's going to check the context or the database. So if I were to delete all of these files right here, the next time I run it, it will actually run. It will determine. So this right here will run. It'll initialize, and then it'll take this context. It'll create a new one. It'll check to see if there's any movies in it. If it isn't, then it's going to add these movies right here. And then basically you just create a new movie and then save the changes, and then this would basically seed all that data into the original table. This right here was the movie view model, and so when I use this, I created this, and this basically gives us the rendering, and basically shows the view on here. So with changes in that, and then this right here is just an error view model. It's pretty basic, and it just requests the ID, and then it checks it to see if it's empty or not. If it's empty, then it returns an error, and that is. And then here's the main, and then this right here is the main area. So I had to pull, I had to make sure that I was using my different objects here, just to make sure that all of this would work out. And so this is what's initialized. It becomes read-only. This is a read-only, private read-only, because I'm using that. Basically, as I go through there's all this different code here creates the different genres to select and allows me to query those. Um, and then it creates a new view model every time the variable movie. So, and yeah, that's basically it. So all of this goes through all of this code in here. So this updates the exceptions, and it just kind of runs through that. Most of this is generated from the entity framework. So you just have to come in here and make minor changes to, like, for your different variables right here, like the movies variable, and stuff that you've created towards what you're actually doing with the project. But a lot of it, and that's kind of like the good part the of using the entity framework, is that it like generates a lot of this stuff, and then you come in here and then, like, for example, I had to create this validate anti-forgery token, and so I had to bind these right here, which allows me to keep people from spamming, creating different movies and overloading the actual database itself. So, and then this was the delete function, and these are all the basic functions that show up on that main page. And that was pretty much everything. And then I was, yep. And thank you for viewing.